Okay, hi everyone. So what I'm going to show y'all is a new app that, well, actually it's not a new app. It's been out a while, but the district has decided to open it up to the teachers, and it's a really good app. If you are using iPads in your classroom and you want to have a little bit of control over what the students use in the classroom, this is the app for you. So what you're going to want to do is, or actually before I even go there, let me show you what I have. So this is my screen. I am mirroring 4 student iPads. So this is student iPad over here, another one over here, and a fourth one down here. And then the big one in the middle is the teacher iPad. And hopefully they don't resize. And if they do, then I'll just kind of move the student iPads over here and make the teacher one bigger. But this is just my iPad. I'm mirroring, and then over here is the student iPads. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is download the Apple Classroom app, and it looks just like this. So if you go to the App Store and you look for Apple Classroom, I'm going to do search Apple Classroom. Okay, it's the first one that pops up, so it's right here. So Apple Classroom, and then this is the one that you're going to want. So go ahead and get and download the app. So that's number one. So once you do that, the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to launch the app, and then you're going to create your classes. So when you launch it, as you can tell up here for me, I use this pointer now. So up here for me, I have my name. I had set this up beforehand, so right here you put your name or however else you want to identify yourself. I would just recommend just putting your name. And then for now, you can't change the icon, so the kids are going to be looking for the mortar board. Okay, so I'm going to hit done. That's the first thing. The next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to create a class. So I already created 3 of them, but for the purposes of this training session, I'm going to create a class. You're gonna probably experiment. If you want to make a class for first, second, third, fourth, fifth, you can do that. If you want to just make a class for each subject, that's probably going to make more sense once I start to demonstrate it for you. Or you can just have one class and then use that. That'll work also. So the way this is set up, I guess for us, because we're not a one-to-one district, meaning a student doesn't have an iPad issued to them, they have to borrow iPads from the district. It's what we're going to be doing is enrolling iPads, not necessarily students. Okay, so I'm going to come back up here to my app. I'm going to click on create new class. I tap on it. I get prompted to give it a name, so I'm going to put I'm just going to put first as first period, and then so if you want to change the colors, you can do that. I'm going to tap on done. So here's my class. Right here's a little information button. If you tap on it, you can always come back to it, change the name, or delete the class altogether. So I'm going to hit done again. So now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to enroll the iPads. Remember, we're not enrolling students, we're enrolling iPads. So what I'm going to do before, I'm not actually going to let students enroll themselves because we want to have control. So this would be the day before you're going to want to do this. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take one of the iPads, this one up here in the upper right, and I'm going to enlarge it so that way you can see what's going to happen over here on the student screens. Okay, so here's the student iPad. What you're going to want to do, and like I had said just a little while ago, is you're going to want to do this ahead of time with every single one of the iPads so you have the control over the iPads. So go to settings. Okay, when you go to settings, what you're going to look for is actually you go to settings and then make sure you're in this view right here. If you're somewhere else, like let's say, I guess it doesn't really matter where you're at as long as what you're looking for is this side right here. You're going to want to see the classroom pop up. So the student iPads have to be on the Wi-Fi. That's one thing because it's going to use the Wi-Fi to find your iPads. Okay, so on the student iPad, you're just going to kind of be looking over here. I'm going to go back to my teacher iPad and I'm going to launch the class. So I'm going to tap on the class. So here's our class. And then here in a little bit, I'm going to tell you what all of these little features mean. But for now, we're just going to enroll the iPad. So I'm going to tap on Add Student. And then, so now I get this little screen right here. It gives me a code, and then it's telling me I'm waiting for students. So I'm going to come back over here to the student iPad. And so now this popped up, Classroom. So in all the iPads, right here you see Classroom on this one, Classroom on that one. I'm going to move this one a little bit out of the way. So we see Classroom on this one. So all four of them have that Classroom icon that just popped up. So what we're going to do is tap on Classroom on all of the iPads. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to see is we're going to see our class. So it's telling the student add first, or it's telling the iPad add first, which is the class that we created, right? The class called first. But before you do that, what you want to do is you want to change this this right here. This is why I'm recommending that you don't let the students enroll themselves, because if you let a student enroll themselves, what they're going to do is on this little option right here, if I tap on it, it's saying teachers are allowed to AirPlay and view your screens. What it defaults to is ask. Okay, you don't want that, because when you try to view their screen, the kids are going to get a message that says, do you want to allow the teacher to view your screen? You don't want them to have that option. So go ahead and click always. Okay, this is a one-time setup, so if you have these iPads, you don't have to worry about coming back in here and changing this up unless a student comes and does it manually, but they probably wouldn't know to do that. So check always and then click back to the classroom. Okay, so now you see that it's defaulted to always, so do that to the rest of the iPads. Okay, so now the next thing is you're going to add the class. So we'll go ahead and add the class. And so now the iPads are prompted to add the name. So this one already had the name. So what I'm recommending is, let's see if I can find an iPad that didn't have a name already set up. Well, they actually already all did. If we didn't have a name, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete it just to show you what it would look like if the names weren't already added on there. Okay, so this is what it would look like. It would say first and last name, but since we're enrolling iPads, just tap right here on first, and then this iPad is number 18B. So I'm going to put 18B. I'm going to hit return. Let me hide my screen. Okay, so that's it. And then I'm going to come back up here and hit the add first. So now the name is there. The next thing it's asking me is for a 4-digit code. So back here on the teacher iPad, at the bottom you see 3197. Okay, the code 3197. So I'm going to go back to the student iPad, and then that's what we're going to type in, 3197. Then at the top, we hit add. And so now I'm going to go back to my teacher iPad, and I see the iPad start popping up. Okay. If you went ahead and put student names, okay, so the student names will pop up, but the reason why I don't recommend using the student names is that at the end of the class period, then you'll have to go into each iPad and then delete the names. And since, once again, since we're not a one-to-one district, that's just not going to work for us. So iPad names or any other kind of naming convention that you want, but as long as it's like an iPad that you can just give from one student to the next. Okay, so I have my 4 students in my class. I hit add. Okay, so then here are my 4 students. Okay, so what can we do with this? I'm going to come back up here, and then I'm going to shrink this student screen and move them over here. So this is one iPad, another iPad. So these are my 4 student iPads over here on the sides. Here's my teacher iPad. So what can we do with this? Well, I have my 4 iPads right here. At the bottom, you can see AirPlay, and that just shows that they're on AirPlay right now because I'm mirroring all the screens onto my Mac. That's all that means. Also, what I can see is I see the little gear. That means all the student iPads, all 4 of them over here, they're on the settings page. So that's what that's telling me, okay? So as soon as a student gets out, let's say this iPad right here went back to the home screen, you see how that little gear, it went off? And then if they go, let's say, into iBooks, then it's telling me here that they're in iBooks. If I want to see what they're viewing specifically, so I want to see, okay, what's this guy looking at in iBooks? Then what I can do is I just tap right here. Ooh, it actually just turned off. So I tap on there. I don't know why it showed me that, but so I tapped on his screen, and then I still see that he's on iBooks. I can click here, and then I could see his screen. So you see how now as a teacher, I can see his screen. And then also another thing that pops up is this blue bar. That blue bar tells the students that I'm watching his screen. Okay, so they kind of get notified of that. Okay, so let's say I'm done. I'm going to click right here on the done. So I go back here, and then I'll come back to other things we can do with the students. So, so now he's back on the home screen. Okay, so other things we can do. Right here, this is all the iPads that are in my class, all 4 of them. What it does automatically is, here it tells me 3 iPads are in the settings screen, right? We can see it here. If I wanted to see just those, I tap on that group, and you see the little indicator. So it's telling me these are the 3 that are on that screen right now. If I wanted to see this one, I tap on that one. Here's our little indicator. Here's that one student. Okay, so we can do things like that. I'm going to tap back here to the all. The other thing I can do is, if I have another iPad I want to add, I just tap on the add, and then I get this same screen again. It gives me a different code now, and then it's waiting for the student, and then I just add the student. If I want to, so here's where the magic starts. If I want to open apps, I tap on this button right here. And so now it pulls up all the apps that I have on my teacher iPad. Okay, so if I want to force the students to go to Google Classroom, I tap Classroom, and then you could see, right, it sent all the students to the Classroom app. This one right here, it's prompting them to sign in with their Northside email. So if I'm done here, then I can hit done, and then this window disappears. Or if I want to open up Classroom on my iPad, I just tap that. So now I'm on Classroom, and then we could talk about whatever, right? So let me go back to Classroom. Now the thing about doing it this way, so I could send the app, right? I sent Google Classroom, but a student on his iPad, let's say, nah, I don't want to do that. I want to just come and start surfing the net or whatever, right? So the kid has the control to do that, and all the iPads. So they just hit their home button and they can get out. So we just lost control of everything, right? The only thing we know is that, okay, they're not where I want them to be. So what you can do is go back to open. You want them to stay in Classroom, so I click that. And here at the bottom, you have this option right here, lock in app after opening. Toggle that switch on, and so now send them back to Classroom. So on their iPads, they all go back into Classroom. And so again, I can open Classroom on my iPad if I happen to be mirroring. I'm just going to hit done for now. But now what that does on the student iPad, since they're locked, when they hit their home button, they can't do anything. So right now I'm hitting the home button on one of these iPads, and it's not doing anything. It's just locked. Okay, even if they put the iPad to sleep, which I'm going to do that with one of these. So that one went to sleep. It's still, as soon as they wake it up, it goes back to Classroom. Okay, and let me rearrange my iPads, but that's okay. I'm gonna move them up here, and then I'm gonna make the teacher iPad a little bit bigger. Okay, so that's how you would send them to certain apps. Okay, move this over here. So that's the open app button, and it's any app that you have. If you happen to send them to an app that they don't have, so like let's say Edpuzzle, you'll know that they don't have the app. So I just sent Edpuzzle to all of them. So it's opening Edpuzzle. They happen to all have Edpuzzle. Let me see if I could find one that they don't have. Oh, the App Store. I know they don't have the App Store, but let me go ahead and send that. So if I send the App Store to them, right here it tells me unable to open the App Store because none of the student iPads have it, right? So this could kind of let you know if kids have the app or they don't. Okay, so I'm gonna hit done. Okay, so other things, navigate. If you want to send them to a certain website, navigate is okay. The only catch is that it's iBooks, iTunes U, or Safari. If you hit Safari, there's nothing else that you can't really send them to. If you click on Safari, they could only be websites that you already have like either bookmarked or saved somewhere. So you can't type in an address here, like a web address. So let's say I wanted to send them to the library website. I just tapped on that, and then it sends them to the library website. Okay. If you want them to stay in the app, then it would be a matter of sending. Let me close this out. It would be a matter of sending the Safari app here, and then send Safari. And then you have to lock them into Safari. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. You know, you would send them into Safari, and then you just got to make sure and let's see, where is it at? You just got to make sure and toggle the lock in button, and so then they'll be locked into Safari and they can't go anywhere else. Okay, so just send them to Safari, and if they hit the home button, they can't. Now just know that they can still surf inside of Safari. It's just locked into that app. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and unlock everybody. So to unlock the kids, I tapped on the all because I know they're all locked in there, and I'm going to tap on unlock. And then it's telling me that I unlocked all the apps and it just resized everything. Apologize for that. Okay, I'm going to hit done. Let me resize the teacher one just so you guys can see. I think it's going to keep resizing, so I'm just going to put this one right here. Okay, so that's the navigate. So lock, if you wanted to lock everybody, right now, our indicator says it's on all of them. If you hit lock, it locks all 4. If you want to lock like just one iPad, you just tap on it, and then here's where you get the options, and you could just lock that one iPad. Okay. Let me tap out of it. The mute button, if somebody has their volume on and it's just bugging you and you know who it is, again, you can tap on that one iPad and then mute them. So the deal with muting is it'll mute them instantly, but then a student can go and put the volume back up. But at least it kind of gets their attention that they're too loud. If you want to mute everybody, you don't know who it is that's being loud, just make sure it's on all and then just tap on mute, and then it mutes everybody's iPads instantly. Okay. Now remember, they can turn the volume back up, but at least for the moment it mutes them. If you want to see the screen, so with these little icons, you can see where the apps that the students are in, right? Like this one, it just went into Drive. Okay, so if you want to actually see their screens, then you can just either, since this isn't all, and then I tap on screens, what it does is it converts their little icons into the screens. And so now, if the students go into certain apps, as they're messing around, you can see. And then if you want to see more detail than just what these little icons do, then you can just tap on an individual iPad. Oops, let me go back into the teacher one. Apologize for this. So I just click on an individual iPad, and then right here is my option to view the screen. So if I tap on it, now I can see that one iPad's screen. Okay, whichever one it is. There it is. Okay, that's the one that's messing with. So I can see what that one student is doing. So then once I'm done, then I come up here to the done button on my teacher app iPad, and then I just tap out. And so, and then if I want to keep watching the screens, then as long as this is active, if I want to go back to that, then I can tap on that button. The next thing we could do is we can group. So if I hit plus, now I have the option of, I'm in the group screen, so I could name the group. Let's say I call this one, okay, I had a long press, so I kept my finger down in there. Okay, so let's say I call this one group A. Okay, so now I got the name, and let's say I want this iPad and this iPad in group A. I just tap on them. So now we have group A. I come up here and I hit done, and we're done with group A. If I want to create another group, tap on group. Now I want this one to be group B. Okay, so I want 16 and 17 to be group B. I tap on done, so now I have my two groups. So now I can tap group A is 18B and A, group B is 16B and 17B. So those are my two groups. So here's where this comes in handy. So if you want to start sharing files with students, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. With the new iOS, with iOS 11, everybody hopefully is on iOS 11. If you're not, go ahead and update your iPads. With iOS 11, what you can do is you can open up more than one window. So if I put my finger on outside of the screen at the bottom and then I swipe up a third of the way, I get this little menu right here. I just swiped it back down. If I put my finger and then I swipe up, I keep swiping up to a third, then that's where I get all these other options, okay? So what I'm just doing now, I'm gonna tap back on Classroom. I'm just gonna swipe up until I see this little bar at the bottom. So let's say I had something in my file right here, my file folder, and I wanted to share it. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna long press my finger on it, and then I'm gonna swipe it up, and you see how it turned into a little, like this little icon right here. I'm gonna bring it over here to the side, and then you see how I'm just doing it really slow, how it kind of switched, and as soon as I let go, I have two windows open now. So I have my files. So let's say I go back into my class and I wanted all of the students to have, let's say I want them all to have this quizzes one right here. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tap on, I'm gonna come over here, this little mouse works better. I'm gonna tap on the all button. Okay, so now all of my students are gonna get a file. So I'm gonna come back up here, I'm gonna long press quizzes, and then I'm just gonna slide it. I'm gonna drag it over here and drop it on the all. So once I do that, and let's see, I'm gonna see if I can bring up the other iPad so you can see what it does. Here's another iPad. Here's this one. Okay, so here's all 4 of the student iPads. So I'm going to come back up here with my finger, and then I'm just going to hold it so it kind of lifted up, and then I'm just swiping over. So as you can tell, so if I wanted just group 2 to have it, the little green plus sign comes up. If I wanted just group 1 or group A to have it, I would do it there. But if I wanted it to go to just these 4 iPads that are on the home screen, but since I want all the students, I come over here and you can see how it changes the color. And then I just drop it. And so now you can see over here on the iPads, they get an airdrop. So what they have to do on their end is, let me go ahead and maximize one of these so you can see what it looks like. So they get this message saying, I would like to share a photo. So what the kids do is they hit accept. Okay. And then once they hit accept, these things keep resizing on me. Once they hit accept, then this is the quizzes picture that I just sent to them. And then all the kids, if they all accept it, then they'll all get the pictures. Okay, so that's a fast way to send files to everybody. Okay, let me bring this back up here. Let me bring back the teacher one. Okay, so now what I see on my end is that it was shared to 4 iPads. I'm going to hit done. If a kid declines it, it'll tell me that. It'll give me a message that one of them declined it. Okay, so I'm going to hit done. And then I can see that they're all in photos because I just sent them that one quizzes photos. Okay, so that's one way of doing it. Another way, let me go ahead and I'm going to get rid of this little window that I opened up. I'm going to long press on this line right there, and then I'm just going to swipe it. As soon as it does this, I'm going to let go, and then I'm just going to swipe it to the right. Okay, so that's one way of sharing it. Let's say when we tried to open, when we tried to navigate, you remember I couldn't, this was all the options I have. And if I didn't bookmark a certain link, I couldn't send it to them. So here's the workaround. So let's say I opened up Safari. Okay, so I don't have Safari. Let me go to Safari. Okay, here it is. Let's say there was a certain site, like let's say I wanted to send this Swivel Cloud site to the kids, and it's probably going to be, yes, Ms. Mojica's, because I saw her video. Let's say I wanted to send this video to them. Right here in the share button, you see this airdrop. Okay, so I'm going to tap on the square and then watch what pops up. Now we have here Group A, Group B, and then all students. If I wanted to send it to all of them, I'm going to tap on it, and so now all the student iPads get that movie just like that. So that's a workaround if you don't have something already bookmarked, okay? And so the students can now watch it, and they can, they can see the video. Okay, so that is Apple Classroom, not Google Classroom. That is Apple Classroom, really quick. The last thing that I'm going to show you before I get out totally is, like I had mentioned before, so these are your iPads. So let's say class is over. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to click End Class, and I get a little summary of what we just saw. So I can see all the apps that I used just now. I opened up all of these apps, and then here are the students that joined the class. So it's kind of like a little summary. I'm going to come back up here and I'm going to hit done. And then we go back to classes. So here's our first period. Here's the 4 students actually it's the 4 iPads that we had enrolled. If I want to delete the class, I just hit the little information tab, and I'm going to delete it just for us. You don't have to do this yourself, but I'm doing it just because this was just for demonstration. So that's how you would get rid of it. Now, if a student wanted to, let me hit cancel and get out of it. If a student wanted to unenroll from your class, move this out of the way and then make one of these bigger. Okay, I'm going to make this one the demonstration one. So this is the student iPad. So I'm going to hit the home button, and then I'm going to go back to settings. So a student can unenroll by coming back to settings, hitting on classroom. So here's their first period class. If they hit on that information tab, so here's where kids can always come back and change it. Hopefully they don't. But if they do end up changing this, you'll know exactly where to come back and change that back to always. But okay, so here's the information button. From here, a student can remove themselves from the class. Okay, and in this case, it's not necessarily a student; it's more an iPad, like a student would be unenrolling an iPad. Okay, so that's one way. So for this iPad, I'm going to hit remove. Here's the confirmation. Yep. So now classroom's here. All the classes are gone. Here's that default. This will eventually it'll go away because as soon as I close the classroom app, it's gonna erase from the student's iPad. So let me go back to this. Let me open up my teacher iPad. Okay, so here's the teacher one. So I can do it that way, or I just come into the information, delete the class, confirmation, yes, delete it. So now that class is deleted. And then in the student iPads over here, if they go into their settings, let's see which iPad this one is. I'm going to minimize. If let's see, where is that one? Actually, it's, oh, there's, okay, this one right here. Let's maximize this one. So if that iPad goes into settings, since I deleted the class and then they go into classroom, this is still here. Even though I deleted the class on my end, they can just come over here and click on the information button and then remove this class. Okay, so even if you delete the class from your iPad, it's still on the student iPad. Okay, so just a, I guess, a little FYI. And if you do sign out the iPads and the students don't delete, or you don't delete the classroom from the iPad, that shouldn't be a problem unless, let's say you signed out for these 4 student iPads, right? And so that class is in the classroom section for that particular iPad. And then let's say next week you sign out 4 more iPads, you might not get the same ones, so you might have to re-enroll those iPads into your classroom, okay? Because they're not the same iPads. It would be a lot easier if we were one-to-one, but that's not the case for Northside, at least not yet. Who knows, maybe in the future we will be, but okay, so that is Apple Classroom. We'll have more of a training session later on, but I think this is just a really good way to be able to control and see what students are doing with their iPads, and hopefully you'll find it useful. And if you want to start to mess with it, let me know, and then we can get together and really sit down and practice it, okay? All right, talk to you later.